Welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
And before we get into this special episode, we just want to thank all our viewers and all our listeners for tuning in for the past 200 episodes. Well, 199 episodes.
199 episodes. Yeah.
Before we get into our 200th. And I was just reflecting on this time frame, like all the special guests we've had. We've had like all our friends that we've had, like even during lockdown, we managed to pull off some really, really nice episodes with some special friends. I mean, to name a few, you got Drummer Boy. Shout out to Drummer Boy. Mm-hmm. Got Swiss Beats that joined us for a retrial of the DMX episode.
Yeah.
Man, I feel like it's been 3-4 years since we kicked off the podcast. And it started off, shout out to Julius, with us kind of just critiquing. You guys have seen us critique all our favorite albums over the years, all the albums we dislike, because y'all let us know when we get it wrong all the time. The Nicki Minaj turmoil.
I'll never forgive the barbs for saying that I'm built like a tornado. Fucking terrible, man.
And y'all are on my back right now still about Tupac and my views. And
oh boy, right there.
But I feel like that's been the beauty of doing this podcast, because these are all organic conversations. Like we're not doing this for views. Like, despite what you think about like how crazy our thoughts could be, it's organic. We have these conversations all the time. And we just want to thank you guys for tuning in. Our next episode, we're gonna get into Ready to Die. Episode 200. I can't even like say it. It's crazy.
Episode 200, and fans, listeners, watchers, supporters, thank you guys, especially during the pandemic, because I was just losing my mind and I just literally just wanted to talk about something else besides what was going on in the world for real. So I'm actually really, 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 really thankful. And, Rap in Order gets me through a lot. So I appreciate you guys.
Yeah, man.
Everybody, all the commenters, even the people that don't agree with me, even though I'm right.
Yeah, man. And I feel the same way. Like, thank you guys for tuning in. We got some exciting stuff that's going to come in the near future. So without further ado, episode 200.
200!
Dun dun. Welcome to Rap in Order, the interrogation of a hip-hop album, where we take some of the culture's most beloved hip-hop albums, put them on the stand, see if they stood the test of time. Now let's see who we got on the stand today.
These are their stories.
And welcome to another episode of Rap in Order. I'm First Class Regg.
And I'm Taurian B.
Today, ladies and gentlemen, we are getting into Notorious B.I.G's debut album, released in 1994. September 13th, 1994, which is very eerie, right? When you think about it.
Yeah.
That's the day that Tupac passed away. He of course passed away in 96, but yeah, that was the anniversary date, you could say. Mm-hmm. Ready to Die was the only album that Biggie released in his lifespan. Life After Death came, after he passed in 97, in March of 97. This album came out 94, and it was, of course, Diddy had his hands all in this album.
All in the video.
All in the videos. And this was Biggie's big coming out party. You had the lead single Juicy, which is like a hip hop staple at this point. I always actually say that Juicy is one of those hip hop songs that, one of those songs, period, that I could go the rest of my life without hearing again, because I've heard it so much.
Yeah, it's one of those songs that, like, the words and you're not even trying. You didn't try to know it.
Yeah,
it's infectious.
It's three songs like that for me. It's Juicy, Poison, and Can We Talk, Tevin Campbell. I don't need to hear those songs no more.
I agree. Those three songs, yeah.
It's done. You go to every throwback party, they throw on one of those. But anyway, so this album, how do you feel about this album? How did you feel about, I was going to say, how did you feel about Biggie? But, I mean, we all know.
he's my favorite rapper of all time.
Okay.
Okay. So I'll take you back. So the first time I ever heard this album, my bully, his name is Larry. Shout out to Larry. We cool now. So
I didn't know you had a bully.
I had a bully when I was a kid. His name was Larry. So he played it, and I remember "Give Me the Loot" was the first song that he ever played for me. And when I heard it, I thought it was two people on the song. I didn't realize it was Biggie, like going back and forth like by himself. So I just assumed like, oh, the one with the higher pitched voice is Lil C's. Of course, is what. And then when I heard Lil C's talk, I was like, he doesn't sound like the guy in the song. And then because like "Ready to Die" was a very graphic album. So
dark.
Yeah, and very dark. So there were certain projects that my mom at that time. So let's say, "Ready to Die" came out in '94.
Yep.
So in '94, I was 8. So that was something that like I had to like sneak and listen to when I was 8 years old, and it was funny because around that time, like Big L and Nas also had like verses that like when you heard them like that were very dark. So I think Biggie had Nas had a verse when I was 12. I went to hell. No, when I was 12, I went to hell for smacking Jesus. So it was like all these rap like they had like these shocking verses, and like I would hear them because like the kids that were older, trying to hang out with the kids that were teenagers, they were listening to this.
Yeah.
So like this album was just like prominent because all you heard about was Biggie and like Bad Boy, because Puff's Bad Boy's promo team was so good. Like when I tell you like good, bro, like they were Ready to Die posters everywhere. You couldn't go anywhere in New York City and not see a Ready to Die poster and see that baby. And I'm like, damn, like like that, like the promo was so good. And what I just remember is that entire summer, like just seeing the Bad Boy trucks and seeing the Bad Boy t-shirts everywhere. Every event, my mom was young at that time; she was in her 20s. So every event she went to, she would come home. It was some Puff Daddy having some event, Bad Boy having some event. So, I just like remember like those are like my early memories of it. And then then as an adult, I have a second when I listened to the album and understood what was going on, because I lived with Life After Death more than I lived with Ready to Die, like understanding what was going on.
Yeah.
And when I got to that point where like I understood Ready to Die, I was like, yo, like this album was a cry for help. Like Biggie was like suffering from depression because, mind you, he started recording this album when he was 21. Right, and he finished it when he was 22, so it was over because there's an act 1 and an act 2, and we'll get into that part of the album. But I just remember like, damn, like this dude was going through a lot, and like obviously like mental health and depression wasn't a thing that was talked about. But if you listen to this album, like he was definitely dealing with all. He was paranoid. He thought his mom was going to die from cancer. He didn't know if he was going to be able to feed his daughter. Like he got the deal, then they lost the deal they had a deal at Uptown Records and they lost the deal. So then he started hustling again. His friends are dying. People are getting killed around him. He's selling drugs. Like all these things, like it wasn't, young in a young kid's mind, you don't think about it. But you listen to this album, like he was pretty much like literally writing his death note.
Yeah.
So when I got older, I realized that. And I was like, oh shit, like this. And then he still had a sense of humor about it. So clever.
It was really, really dark. I think for me, a lot of the albums from like the early 90s, I had to go back to because from 92 to 95, I was in Cameroon. So like when this came out, I have no recollection of this album dropping like in that time frame, and we're the same age. So like, if I was in the States, then obviously like I would have had time frame with this album. But when I came back, we were going into 96. Or when I came back, it was all about Death Row.
Right.
So like it was Death Row. I knew about Biggie, but it was like kind of just here and there. Like he still had big singles, but it wasn't until like.
And it's crazy because like his ties to Detroit are huge.
Yeah. So it wasn't until like 97 rather, that like when Life After Death came out, that I was like all about Biggie. And Pac and like the East Coast West Coast thing was like really prominent and big, but at this time frame, I was still in Cameroon. So like it, and it's not till conversations, it's not till conversations come up like this that I'm just like, oh shit, like I really wasn't even here for that, for that 94 frame and shit, Illmatic and Tribe and all the early shit that was really prominent. Like I didn't really know about Tribe until Wayans Brothers, because Electric Relaxation was the theme song for Wayans Brothers. So like shit like that I have to think about. But then when I go back to this album, and it's like you said, like I saw like a lot of growth. Even when you're listening to the album, you can see growth in the actual album. And like artists do that between albums. And on the same album, he had growth, and like he got nicer as a lyricist within the frame of one album. And I have never seen that before. Like everybody else has just been like a package deal of like the framework of that album, and it's just like, all right, well, let me see where he goes next. And you got a chance to see where Biggie went next in the same frame.
Yeah. If we're all right, so another thing like that I'll tell you. So you can hear it, and there's 3 songs where you can hear it where there's because his voice is like more high pitched, and he's more like, so it's Give Me the Loot, Things Done Changed, and Ready to Die. Like the tones are darker. You could tell like he's not comfortable in his own skin, right? He's like, and like he wants to be more grimy. So you could tell, all right, this is lumberjack, hockey jersey, bandana around the head, Biggie, right? And the funny thing is like, well, I think a lot of people know the story, like, or have you seen the movie? Like, you know, Puff lost he got fired from working at Uptown Records, and then he went and Biggie was like, all right, so you know he went down south,
back to the street,
back to the street, because you know he didn't believe it anyway. Like they said, like Biggie was like a nonchalant person, and Puff had to like beg him to come back, and it was like, I guess it was a grace of God thing, because like, you know, the people he was fucking with, they got locked up. So you know, then he comes back, and like, you know, like Puff had some money for him because he got the deal at Arista. So then Biggie was able to get, you know, nicer clothes, you know, buy some things, get a nice crib, you know, and like that's how like we were able to get the more pop records and the samples, and things like that, because this album is a very like gritty album, and I want to get into Easy Mo B, into his production, and why do you think Easy Mo B isn't like hailed?
I think Easy Mo B had his frame, like that time frame was very specific. So like I don't think it carried over into the 2000s.
It's just not fair. Like a lot of other, like he worked with Pac and Biggie early. I believe that Biggie worked with him because he worked with Pac. Yeah, and I think so. It just is weird to me that, like, you know, you have a lot of these, but like, so all right, obviously he's not primo, but like Easy Mo B worked on 2 of the biggest rap artists ever, their debut projects, and it's like when you see you can see Easy Mo B like down the street, and I know like it's still things that he does, but like I just don't understand it. Like, why isn't he praised? And the only thing somebody told me is that like it was just bad business.
A lot of people feel that way about DJ Quick. DJ Quick doesn't get the praise. He doesn't. It's DJ Quick. And also, who definitely doesn't get mentioned is Daz.
Right. Well, I'll say this much. Daz and DJ Quick absolutely get more recognition than Easy Mo B does. Yeah. Like, I feel like people know who they are. There are some people who have no fucking clue who Easy Mo B is. You know, I had a homeboy that I had to argue down. I was like, DJ Premier only did 1 track on it. He did Unbelievable. He thought Premier did the entire Ready to Die.
Oh, that's crazy.
I was like, let me tell you something. I was like, Primo was already known as like a god. If Primo did the entire Ready to Die, he would be on Dr. Dre levels as far like, and I think he already is. So let me correct that. But like the way they talk about Dr. Dre doing Doggy Style is how they would talk about Primo doing that album. Like this, every fucking sentence would be about that.
Yeah, Easy Mo B has like, wait, how many credits on here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
Isn't it like 11?
6.
6?
He has 6 producer credits on this album.
Son.
Yeah.
Like that's incredible to me, and I just think like I said that it's something ain't right. Like and I'm pretty sure there's an interview where like it's spoken about more addressed.
Easy Mo B, Dame Grease.
Yeah.
These are these are producers that they don't get the love that they deserve.
Yeah.
Bink. Yeah. Bink will tell you though. Bink will tell you. Bink will tell you that you sleeping on him, and don't let Devil in the New Dress come up, and we will argue you into a corner.
Yeah.
Shout out to Big though.
I mean,
love
shit.
him.
Pete Rock.
Yeah.
Pete Rock has like a huge problem with that. Actually, Pete Rock says that Puffy stole Juicy from him.
Interesting.
He said that Puffy heard him like looping it, and like Puff like went to the hitman and told them like the idea, and they did it. And like Pete Rock till this day like talks about that. And
I can believe that.
And like, you know, like that's like the second, like you got to think about it like that. Like 94 was just a rough year for Pete Rock because like he says he still hasn't gotten paid for Illmatic.
Yeah, I was almost convinced when Nas mentioned him on King's Disease 3 that he would write like a paragraph on Instagram or something, but he didn't say anything.
Wow.
I was almost convinced that nigga would come out the woodwork and say something, but
I'm shocked that he hasn't.
Yeah, it's not too late.
Something coming. I think if we get that another King Disease is coming.
Yeah.
He's like, all right, enough, nigga.
Enough. But yeah, no, I mean, you bring up a good point with Easy Mo Bee. I didn't realize actually how many tracks he had on here.
Yeah.
But even speaking to the tracks on here, you mentioned Gimme the Loop and how brilliant that is. And also Warning. Like, you listen to these songs, and for me, I get into how good we all know how great Biggie was as a storyteller. But like, I feel like his lost cause, something that he could have gotten into, was like screenplay writing.
Oh my God, that's why he's called the Alfred Hitchcock.
Yeah,
like he do you watch the Math Alpha podcast?
Yeah, I watched it sometimes.
So did you see the episode with Styles P where they was talking about on Niggas Bleed, and he has the character Arizona Ron?
No, I didn't see him talking about that.
So the character Arizona Ron, like they're like, yo, that's like the way that he, like, you got to think about it. He did that in 8 bars. He described this character Arizona Ron, and like basically he's a hitman, and it was like, yo, like he basically just gave you like a hitman's movie that will be fire, and like they was like rapping the lyrics, and I was like, yo, like Biggie's really nice, and especially with Warning, like the way he's telling the story, like, I didn't say them, it's the niggas that you knew from back when like when you was getting minor figures. Yeah. Now they heard you blowing up like Nitro. Like, I'm just like, the way he's telling the story is like, yo, that is that I've seen stuff like that happen in the barbershop. Like, yo, I heard niggas talking about getting at you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Shit like that. And then like niggas is just telling you the story like, nah, not him. This nigga, and he heard you getting money now, and he just came home and niggas gonna press you.
Even like his way of breaking down like something as simple as just the coming of age stories, because everybody loves coming of age stories. So you listen to a song like "Sky's the Limit." My 9th grade teacher actually played that for us just to give us an example of storytelling.
Wow!
So he played that, Mr. Klass.
Oh, you had a young teacher.
Yeah, 9th grade, Mr. Klass. Shout out to Mr. Klass. So he played that, and he would like pause it just to be like, "Yo, do you understand what he's saying here? Like, a nigga never been as broke as me." I like that. He didn't drop the N-word.
Right. Okay.
But he would play it and be like, yo, like, y'all hear that? Or what do you take from that? What's your takeaway from this? Now he's wearing Lacoste, and he's like,
that's
broke
dope.
it down.
That's dope that your teacher did that. I would have loved.
That shit was really cool, and it made me like look at Biggie as like the almighty storyteller that he was. Like, it was just different. But getting back into the fold of this album, the intro. Intro is amazing on this album.
Yeah,
people don't talk about this intro enough.
The intro is like a movie preview.
Yeah. From the baby being born to what they go through to what they're about to get into. Like, it's a 3-part act. Like, it's incredible.
I agree. Before we get into the album, I wanted to talk about this. Do you know what albums came out that year?
94. What we got?
I got them for you. Hold on one second. Where the fuck did I write them at? You know me. So,
besides Illmatic,
okay, I got it right. So, Scarface Diary, Gangstar's Hard to Earn, UGK's Super Tight, Tupac's Thug Life, The Brat's Functified, Pete Rock and CL Smooth's The Main Ingredient, Warren G's Regulate, Method Man's Tikal, Outkast Southern Playalistic Cadillac Music, Redman There Is a Dark Side, and The Source only gave Ready to Die 4.5 mics. Shout out to Miss Info that year. And he lost to Coolio. Oh, and Coolio put out Gangsta's Paradise. And at the Grammys, he lost to Coolio's Gangsta's Paradise for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song.
Interesting. I know I think it was the Grammys, that
Well,
he lost to LL Cool J for Hey Lover. To Big Papa lost to
yeah,
Hey Lover.
and Big Hot Papa lost to Hey Lover.
Yeah.
He cleaned up at the Source Awards. Like he cleaned up at Source Awards and vibe and all that shit. But I think Gangsta's Paradise was the best rap album that year. Though. I mean, best rap song.
Best rap song.
I do think
It's a
Gangsta's
great
Paradise.
song.
Yeah, it was a crossover song. Like I think I just think that what Coolio did with that song, like I get why I think they got it right. I know Biggie was Biggie, but Gangsta's Paradise, like like sometimes you just gotta give it up. But with those albums and the competition and everything like that, and it's funny because Illmatic came out that April, right? So Illmatic, like it was already a build up. Illmatic was bootlegged, and then we got Ready to Die that fall. Right, so basically Biggie had his singles out that summer, but everybody had Illmatic that whole summer.
Yeah.
Right, and then Ready to Die dropped right after that, and it didn't really pick up until later when the remixes came out. But I just thought that was really really interesting to think about, because when I think back and when I think about it, I'm like, yo, Illmatic came out and it had its time, right?
Yeah.
But then peep this. It really makes me think, oh shit, you're rained on the top with short like leprechauns as I crush so-called willies, thugs and rapadons. Like, he's like, yeah, motherfucker, you came out in April, I came out in September, motherfucker, and then I'm crowned the king of New York.
Yeah.
That's how long you didn't even get a year run, bruh.
It's that rap phenomenon, Don Dada.
Bro, that's you know how Vicky's a dick.
Yeah, Biggie took that subliminal diss shit to a whole other level. Like he really made it an art.
Yeah, I'm sorry, watchers. I just had to bring that all the way around full circle just to let you know, Illmatic came out and was hailed the greatest rap album of all time. Like he broke the mold, right? And then Biggie's Ready to Die comes out, and Vibe and all of these other publications crown him the king of New York. Out the gate, and him and Nas are kids. Because Nas is 18, 19. He's not even legal to drink yet. Biggie's 21, and then it's just that's it. But yes, let's get it. I had I just wanted to get all my notes off about that. I take my little notes and everything that. So
all right, so moving out of the intro, get into a song as big as Things Done Changed, which is you can still see the growth from, right? Because I think you mentioned this already as being really heavy, stealing out his mom's purse, talking about where his life was at that time, talking about what he was looking to get into, but still being pulled back. I think Things Done Changed is a very big way to start this album off, especially going into Give Me the Loot.
Yeah, exactly. So Things Done Changed to me was kind of Biggie kind of letting everyone know, yo, I know all of that shit before was the norm, but nah, this is how it is now. This is what it's like on the streets. And I think that was also kind of something that he had to express to his mom. Yo, ma, shit ain't the same. I know you come home, you go straight upstairs and everything like that, but no, motherfuckers is robbing people. Niggas is snatching purses. Niggas is going for theirs to do what they gotta do to put food on the table. Motherfuckers ain't getting no jobs. You know what I'm saying? We don't got our fathers at home because all our fathers left to go get cigarettes and never came back. And this is how we fucking figuring it out. And it is what it is. I really think he was just letting it be known this is what the fuck is happening outside.
Absolutely. And I think and it's just this gritty feel, man, and it just takes you into Give Me the Loot, which is what you get into after shit done change, you know? So Give Me the Loot with the two character positions, man.
Think about that. You got to think that was an ode to Slick Rick.
Okay. I didn't know that to be a fact, but I definitely saw that.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was an ode, Slick Rick and Big Daddy Kane were two of his favorite rappers and Rakim. So him doing that, he just did it in his own way. Slick Rick did it Slick Rick the Ruler and DJ Ricky D. But Biggie was nah, I'm gonna make these two characters, and it's Biggie and his little man. And I just think that's what made him such a prolific fucking writer, to just think in for another person. And I think that's what also made him be able to like write rhymes for Lil C's and Lil Kim and other artists.
Yeah. What was my man's name from House Party? He sounded like the other voice sounded like him.
Oh man, I know who you're talking about.
From the rap group.
Kick his fucking
Yeah, he
ass.
sounded like him.
Yeah.
He sounded just like him.
I know who you're talking about.
I wonder if that was like some inspo. Because I mean, this was 94. That was 92. So
yeah, it's probably.
But yeah, the storytelling on this, and that's the thing with Big, like, and compared to like storytellers like Lupe, like you get a storyteller like Lupe where you got to decipher some shit, or it'll take you a while, and you'll listen to it with a different set of ears.
Mm-hmm.
But with Biggie, it's very straightforward, but there's still great wordplay.
Yeah.
It tells a complete story that you can listen to and you can decipher in the moment.
To me, Biggie has the brain of a teacher, and when I say that, like he can make anybody understand things and break it down to like a very simple science.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas I think that some people there's some people who have a lot of knowledge and they can't teach you things. They know a lot of stuff, but they can't teach you. And I think with Biggie, probably could have been like an amazing like music teacher. Like anything that he wanted to do, he could have did. Like when we find out like his background and his education and everything like that. Like he was able to like make the hardest things just seem simple. And I think that's also like why he so like, you know, the mythology with him like not writing.
Mm-hmm.
They said before they lost Uptown Deal, he did write, but they said when he started hustling and he had to like start like memorizing shit because like he didn't have time to write shit down on paper. Same story with Jay-Z, right? Mm-hmm. Similar. They said that he just like he became so arrogant and cocky, like he would just be kicking freestyles but like crafting songs in his mind, and he was just like a savant. Like think about it, like you got this big fat dude that smokes weed all day long,
mm-hmm.
like snores when he's standing up and shit, and like he's able to like fucking like just go ahead and like rap some of like the illest shit ever, and reference back something that like he saw on TV or a conversation that he had. Like that was also like impressive too. Like
just a fucking chamber. Like you just storing shit.
Like he was able to compartmentalize all the different things that he was doing and just be able to like put it into bars and then like really break it down like a story. Cause there's a technique that he had, and like Puff and Pharrell kind of like utilizes both. Where like when you're rapping, like don't rap about the same things. So like the first 8 bars is about going to the store, and then the next 8 bars is like a completely different story.
Mm-hmm.
And like Puff always kind of like tells rappers to do that to like keep people like intrigued. And like I just think like that's kind of like dope. I forgot who Puff worked with that he told to do that and it worked, but somebody was telling that story. I think it was Styles that like talked about it, where like if you listen to some of Biggie's songs, like like some of them like cohesive, but then some of them like he just flips like the topic like out of nowhere, and I was just like I wonder like they didn't say like exactly why, but they just said like it works because it keeps your attention because you like trying to figure it out, and it's just like oh wait another story
like another story it just goes into another one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's interesting. I think a song like Machine Gun Funk, that comes into this album after Give Me the Loot. That's another thing that doesn't get talked about on this album enough is the sequencing. Mm-hmm. Sequencing is so fucking good.
Yeah.
Machine Gun Funk is produced by Easy Moby.
Yeah. So, all right. So let me just get this out the way. Every song on this album is magnificent, but there's certain songs I just have to like. Sometimes I have to like stop. I have to take a break.
Mm-hmm.
And Machine Gun Funk, I just don't like. It's not Biggie's rapping. It's more so the hook.
Mm-hmm.
I don't like it. Yeah, it just kills me. Yeah.
Machine Gun Funk. I fuck with Machine Gun Funk. I see what you mean though about the chorus.
Yeah, I just don't like the chorus. That's all.
Yeah, but I fuck with it. And then Warning, of course. Warning should have been a short film. Yeah. I mean, you kind of get a little bit of that in the video, but man, I
like that at the end.
The red dot?
Yeah, this is at Biggie Smalls' house.
Yeah.
You got one in your head too.
You got one in your head.
Shit.
Yeah, Warning is so graphic. It's so fucking good. He tells a full, complete story. Was this ever adapted on Irv Gotti's show on BET? Remember how he would take?
Oh yeah, Rap Tales. I believe so.
It probably was. I didn't really watch it that much.
I didn't either because
I used to like the idea.
Fuck Irv Gotti.
Yeah, I like the idea, but yeah. this is such an easy layup for some content like that.
Mm-hmm.
What do you think about what were you gonna say?
I wanted to say that. So there's certain songs that I love, but I it's funny because I was 8 years old. I heard the remixes before I heard the album versions properly.
So one more chance.
So I want to talk about Me and My Bitch, the live version.
Okay.
So it's funny. So when I was a kid, obviously I'm 8 years old. I don't know how to process an album properly. So like I said, my bully Larry would play, tracks from the album, whatever like that. He was my bully, so I had to listen to what the fuck he listened to, right? But I remember I saw the movie, The Show.
Yeah.
And Biggie performed Me and My Bitch, and I was mesmerized, right? Because I'm just like, yo, like this, like he was so smooth, like seeing him performing, like, I all I do is hear about it. So I'm like, oh, this is how he performs live. And I just thought it was so dope. Mind you, the bar where he says,
look so good, huh?
Yeah. It's a Richard Pryor joke, guys. Biggie didn't play the pause game. Sorry. But I know like that's something he should have. Yeah. But that I just like his cadence and like the confidence that he had of that. So I think like that song was like the predecessor to like Tupac's Me and My Girlfriend and Jay's, Me and My Girlfriend. And then I believe somebody else had there's other rappers who had like songs that was like similar. Like, so this song was like the evil version of You're All I Need by Method Man. And that song was going off.
Yeah. I actually just read an article the other day from is it Justin Tinsley? I want to say. I'm sorry if I'm getting your name wrong, but it was a great article.
Well, yeah, isn't he the one who just wrote Biggie's new book?
That's him, yeah. But he just wrote an article for about the woman that had something to do with that's the one that pushed to All I Need. With Meth and Mary.
Okay, because originally they wanted Lauryn Hill.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So she's the one that wanted Lauryn Hill because she was friends with Lauryn.
Okay.
And she didn't have a relationship with Mary, but was like, Mary would actually sound really good on this. I just don't have a relationship with her. Okay. So if you guys can like put it together, whatever. But she's the one that actually pushed for that. Okay. And then that kind of just snowballed into like those type of tracks, like being as big as they are.
So did you know? So I already knew this, but then like I just recently saw it on the Wu-Tang series. So Def Jam, like Method Man's album was doing great. Then they needed a remix for All I Need. Mm-hmm. So at first they were asking RZA to do another version of it, and RZA was like, "Yo, I don't want to." And they were like, "Yo, we thought like you only produced like nobody the Wu members don't work with no other producers." And he was like, "I'm fucking exhausted. Like I'm trying to work with everybody." So like. His brother was like, "All right, I'm gonna go get Puffy to remix this. Like he's killing right now." And he's like, "Yo, I don't care, do it." And Devon is like, "You sure?" And then Puffy does his version, and it's fucking out of here, right? Mm-hmm. So then I guess like as a trade off, like Puffy was like, "Yo, I did you a favor. I need that favor back," and that's how we got the what.
Got you.
Because Method Man was like out of here. Like he was. They was like, yo, he's LL Cool J with like street cred. Like, that's how like they looked at it. And, Def Jam was pushing that man to the sun. Yeah. And him getting on Biggie's album and being the only feature on Biggie's album wasn't like that. To me, that spoke to how big Method Man was at that time. And I think that because like he, with his music output, like it slowed down as he like became like a bigger star, but I don't think people realize how hot of an artist he was in 1994. Yeah, and I think that's because like that album lineup that came out, Anti-Cal isn't that strong of a debut album.
He doesn't. That's the thing. That's probably why, because he doesn't have a strong album. Even to Cal 2000, the prequel wasn't very good. To Cal Judgment Day. Yeah. Is what that other one was called.
I bought that album.
I bought that too. Yeah. And it just wasn't that good. Method Man has always been incredible. When he's on a feature, whatever, you want to listen to him, you want to give him a shot. But back to that story though, as far as like her name was Drew Dixon, by the way. Okay. Because remember that For the Record, I think that documentary was called, where she was out in Russell Simmons. Okay. But she's the one that that pushed forward to All I Need. And she's the one that took it to Puff because originally, like you said, it was just the interlude. But she was like, yo, this needs to be a song. And she's the one that took it to Puff and she sent it to him. And then he was like, yo, we can make this work. So I think, so it kind of sort of went that way, like how Wu-Tang thing is doing. And I really need to watch that fucking show.
Yeah, man.
Cool. But yeah, it's kind of along those lines.
Yeah. So do you think that Method Man got Biggie on the what?
Yes.
Okay.
I think so.
Yeah, just making sure. Nah, I feel like it was just one of those things like where like Method Man was just like at like his like height, and there's been other times where he's been on other Wu songs where he like out rapped everybody and everything like that. I just feel like I feel like Biggie can get dark, but I just know that like the Wu-Tang guys, like they live there. Yeah, they live there. Yeah.
yeah, they live in that.
Yeah, I feel like Biggie. I feel like that like Biggie was eating a little too good. He was starting to wear a little too much silk.
Yeah, no, the what is incredible because they both delivered. Like none of them, they didn't slack.
Yeah,
and I heard about the writing process for that too, where Biggie would like write some shit over, quote unquote, right? Because we know. But he would like do things over when he would hear Meth come on there, and they kind of had that competition brewing,
going back and forth, smoking.
Yeah, going back and forth.
Yeah, and there's a story about like I think like Meth smoked like like he like outsmoked Biggie.
Oh, word?
Yeah, because like like they were smoking butt nakeds, as it's called.
I was just gonna say like how good was weed in '94 anyway?
Well, back in '94, like it was a spot called Branson that was like I guess like supposedly like getting weed from like California and other places or whatever like that. So apparently like I mean Nori talks about it all the time, like weed from Branson, like, and Biggie always references that place. But apparently that weed was like some of the best weed ever that they had before like they was going to the West Coast and shit like that.
That's crazy.
But I'm with you. Like, how good was the weed? Like,
yeah, but now that weed is a business, and people make money off weed, some would probably say it's not as good as it probably was. But I don't know.
Yeah, but I mean, that was before the technology we got, so maybe that was the strongest weed. The smokiest dope they ever smoked.
Yeah. There was no way to differentiate what they were smoking back then. It was just like, yo, you got weed, roll it. Like it just was what it was.
Yeah, I just know that Branson was a big deal back then. Like that was talked about a lot.
It's interesting. This also made me realize has Method Man ever done a podcast?
A podcast interview?
Yeah, that would be kind of cool.
He did. Really cool. He didn't. Well, Math Out. That's not a podcast. Well, yeah, he did Math Out.
Oh yeah, he did because that's when he apologized to Beyonce.
Yeah, he apologized to Destiny Child. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. I wonder how that would be with him on Drink Champs because I don't think he would drink. I think he would just be focused and just give good stories.
That's true. There's a lot of shows that I think that outlets he can go on. I wish. I don't think he did Combat Jack back in the day, but yeah, I think somebody with like good questions like that like will work. But
yeah, okay. So as far as you did say this album is incredible, but are there any blemishes if you had to pick besides Machine Gun Funk?
Any blemishes?
Yeah, anything on this album that you're like.
It's not a blemish, but it's just that like one more chance. I would just prefer the remix.
Yeah, I prefer the remix, but you're right. It's not a blemish.
Yeah, like
it's not a blemish.
It's not like like it's just no. I mean, I skip Friend of Mine because sometimes the hook I just don't care about it. It's like that's the thing. So it's not even like Biggie's raps. Like some of them, like the hook choices or whatever like that, are just very dated. So I don't like that. But like this rap album, like as far as like a debut, as far as like Biggie having like time to like craft and work on this album, like think about it. Like he got to do this album in 2 acts. So like there's two sides to this album, and you can see like you hear him grow in the album. Usually like we get like the album is like the whole story done, but like for this album, like the story was still going as it was being made, and he got time off and then got to come back to it. Like think about it, most artists don't get that time.
Yeah, And he went back,
and Biggie didn't give a fuck enough to he was like, yo, fuck it, like it's over. I don't believe this shit.
Yeah,
like,
he only that's why we don't get that much Biggie content. I'm surprised they were able to stretch as much Biggie content as they did, because he very much believed in just rapping for money.
Yeah.
He didn't rap for the art of it. He rapped because he was nice and because he saw the money.
Yeah.
And that was it. Whereas with Pac, like he was, he really loved that shit.
Right.
So he slept in the studio.
So another thing, Who Shot Ya and Just Plain weren't originally on the album, right?
Yeah.
But we gotta talk about Who Shot Ya.
Mm-hmm.
So Who Shot Ya, the beat was originally supposed to be the interlude on Mary J. Blige's My Life album.
Okay.
And what happened is, obviously, they was like, yo, number one, Biggie went way too long.
Mm-hmm.
Number two, they were like, we cannot put this on an R&B album. And then number three, like, it's called Who Shot Ya. Like, they were just like, yo, this is not what we wanted you to do, because like on Mary's albums, they would have they have rappers like rapping on the interludes, because they were saying hip hop soul. They were like doing that. And it was just like, all right, you know what, Biggie, like you just do what you want with this shit. And like it went around, like this tape did its rounds, and like Biggie will always do shit like just give DJ Enough was one of what was a DJ that worked with him. Big Cat was a DJ that worked with him. And obviously Mr. C's the DJ who discovered him. They said that Biggie would just give niggas like copies of like his cassettes. Mm-hmm. So imagine like Puff hearing shit on the radio, and it's like, how the fuck did you get this? Like, are you bootlegging me and shit like that? And it's like Biggie personally gave this to me and said, do whatever the fuck you want with it.
You think Puff was probably triggered by when what Drake did with 0 to 100?
Hell yeah.
That's why he slapped him.
Yeah, that's why he slapped him up. Like there's I get really bored, ladies and gentlemen, and like I go down wormholes, and apparently like there's like a whole content from this Puffy has a former bodyguard, his name is Gene Deal. And for some reason, all he does is give interviews talking about how much he hates Puffy and telling stories of like Puffy and Big, and it's some of the best shit ever. And it's like he just always,
I know about him.
Yo, he just and it's like, he not like, because he was there. Mm-hmm. I just think it's hilarious. Like I'm like, yo, this has to be like his 10th interview, and then like in the interview he'd be like, you got to get it in the book, and it's like, my nigga, how? Like what is left?
He got some shit.
Yo, bro, it's bad funny to me. He got some
shit.
Like him like telling stories and stuff like that. Like, and I watch. And I ain't gonna lie, I ain't talking shit because I watch it every time. Like, every interview he got, I'm gonna watch that shit. Mm-hmm. But it's just funny to me that he has so much information and just never stops. Right?
Yeah, he pops up on TikTok sometimes, and I see a bunch of his shit.
It's funny, but okay. So back to Who Shot Ya, right? So they get him to stop that. So that's why like everybody's like, yo. When Pac got shot, like there's an interview where Pac is like, that song don't gotta be about me, but the timing of that is horrible. And like if he just gonna keep that out, like I'm taking that as disrespect. Mm-hmm. And Biggie's and like it's just funny because you have there's a story that Biggs tells from Rockefeller where like he had a copy of it and he let Jay hear it, and he said that like Jay just listened to it in the car over and over again, and like Biggs was laughing like, yo, you can't fuck with him. Mm-hmm. You can't fuck with Biggie. That kid is nice because he's younger than Jay. He's like, yo, he's younger than you and he's nice. Like you can't fuck with him. And like that's like when Jay like really started like locking in and like, yo, all right, this is like what I got to do on this project, but for reasonable doubt. But I think that's just incredible. Like to think like that this song caused all that controversy, that this song might have like been the fuel that like, Jay-Z needed to be who he is. Cause it was like, yo, like, but you can't fuck with him.
Biggie a messy nigga though for this song. Even if it wasn't, like you can see, I can completely see, cause there's been a lot of times when Tupac just comes off as very irrational. But in this instance, I can completely see him having a problem with this, or the reason why he would have a problem with this. Like the nigga just got shot, and then you hear a song like this come out. No matter when he recorded it, the timing of it was just crazy.
I mean, he ain't go crazy at Tupac. I mean, at LL.
Who?
Tupac.
Oh, when he came out with I Shot Ya?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I guess because he wasn't at Quad Studios when it happened. I don't know.
Yeah.
And like, but I mean, well, they had their own shit going on because of Kadada.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
She loved Tupac but hates some LL.
Niggas forgot about that.
Yeah, guys. Torian the historian, baby. I'm going to give it to y'all.
She was with LL and Pop.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, no, I think Who Shot Ya is an incredible song.
It's just, it was out already. Like, it's just that it was a B-side.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like it was hidden. It's just that, like, okay, he started performing it a little bit more.
Yeah. He started saying it with his chest more. And it was like, all right, nigga, I really got shot. And you performing this now. It just looked crazy.
Right. And then, like I said, like the song Just Playing is fucking brilliant.
Yeah.
And I think that speaks more to like his sense of humor, like Richard Pryor, Rudy Ray Moore, even Eddie Murphy. Like it just spoke to like his sense of humor. And that's the thing that's like, and also like impressive to me about Biggie, right? Like he's this 6'4", 300+ pound fat guy that's like also like on one hand like really rugged and like street and hood, but then also like really educated and elegant and worldly. But then he's also mad funny. Mm-hmm. So he's all these things wrapped up into one, and he's a sex symbol.
Yeah.
Like, think about that.
Dressed really well.
Yeah, and I think that came from like Puff working with Heavy D at Uptown because like, he was the the overweight lover. Mm-hmm. And I think like Puff saw how to do that. He was like, yo, like Biggie ain't gonna dance and all that shit, but like he figured out how to really market that and sell it and like do something like that was like really, really, really brilliant with Big. And I gotta tip my hat off to Puff. Like, yo, you and him and his team like really did that, because like I'm pretty sure Biggie was okay with just like the grimy shit, and like Puff was like, no, like we gonna like flip it and like
because the grimy shit was what was in at that time.
Yeah. He was like, yo, we really gonna like flip it. And like there's like stories of like Biggie always making fun of Puff, because like Puff would like dance to like try to get them like hyped to like see like what's going on. Mm-hmm. And I think it's like it's funny because it's like Puff thinking like, yo, like I'm the man, like, I'm gonna make you dance. And like Biggie and his friends from Brooklyn like, yo, look at this clown ass dude right here just dancing and shit, like making moves and like just wanting to like sample songs that was like sample songs that like are like were hits in the 80s and 70s. And it's like Puff just had like a formula and the idea to things.
Yeah. And
he just knew like, yo, if this was already hitting the radio, it's familiar to people, like it's going to chart. Mm-hmm. I just need you to kill this song. And it was kind of like snaky on Puff's part, but still like, like it was a brilliant business plan.
I think also a song like Respect was ahead of its time.
It was
with Diana King.
Yes.
That sample was amazing. Mm-hmm. That production, Diddy and Polk produced it.
Yeah.
It was incredible.
I think that and I forgot which doc. There's so many Biggie documentaries. Like I think that Big was going to tap into his Jamaican roots at one point.
Yeah.
And probably like make a Distant Relatives album like Nas did.
Oh boy.
Probably better, but
Yeah, I could definitely see that for him, because he fully embraced that side of himself.
Yeah.
And also, which one didn't we talk about? I want to talk about.
Was it Suicidal Thoughts?
Suicidal Thoughts.
Perfect
man.
Outro. Because that's technically the outro.
Yes.
If you don't add on Who Shot Ya and Just Playing. Suicidal Thoughts is the perfect outro because it's the ending to the play. He kills himself.
Yeah.
And I just thought it was cool because like I love it when Puff is on anything. Mm-hmm. And like Puff is just like, yo, Big! Yo, Big! Nah, man!
The nigga really, I think in the making of this, from what I remember, he really like kicked some shit over in the studio to like really give it that effect of him falling. Yeah. So this just plays out. This really is the final act. It's such a big way to go.
Yeah. And I think that was kind of like all right, so what is it called? There's a movie that's like really iconic, and at the end of the movie, the main character says, "Look, Mom, I'm on top of the world," and then he dies. And I think it's called something Kane. I'm gonna tell you right now because I walk past it every day when I go to set for Law and Order. Yeah, it's like this iconic movie, and it's something Kane, Mayor Kane or something like that, like. And like I think that like Biggie was kind of inspired by that because like Biggie was really it's a movie's called Citizen Kane, And at the end of the movie, he says, "Look, Mom, I'm on top of the world," and then he dies. And I think like Biggie got that idea from it. And then it's also in Juice. They also talk about it in Juice.
What year was that?
This movie came out years ago, 1941.
Okay.
It's like, but so in Juice, like Tupac is watching it too, and like there's a scene with at the end.
When they're all in the living room, and he's like, "Yo, that's how you go out," or
yeah,
something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in Citizen, like this, the ending of this album is very reminiscent of that to me.
Okay.
And so like I'm like, because you got to think about, like, to us, like a movie that came out in 1941 is mad old, but to them it's like us watching a movie maybe from like the 70s. So for them, so I think that Citizen Kane was a movie that like a lot of like younger men watched and like saw that and was like, yo, he went out like a fucking G.
Yeah.
Like, and I think that's what Biggie. This is just me like assuming, like there's no truth to that, but like because I watched the movie and like to see like what it's about, I'm like, it's eerily similar.
It wouldn't be far fetched to think that he pulled some inspo from there. Okay, so we have reached a portion where I would want you to give your overall thoughts of this album.
Man, this is fucking no-brainer, man. This album is a classic. It's 5 out of 5, 10 out of 10. It's flawless. Easy Mo B like killed it, and then the other producers, the Hitman, Tone, DJ Premier, like they all brought something to the table. Big's lyricism, him being like, I love a cohesive album. Yeah, like it's just something that like he did with this project that to me, like I'm one of those people, right, where I really, really, really love Illmatic. But sometimes it's hard for me to like say that Illmatic is the best album of 1994 and Ready to Die came out that same year. It's very hard for me to like really like take that in. I just think that like with Illmatic, because it came out first, that's why Illmatic is praised. And that's the only thing that Illmatic has on Ready to Die is that Illmatic came out first. Yeah. It's not that it's better. It's not that like he reinvented the wheel, because like they both, did the thing with multiple producers and everything like that. They both were these child prodigies. Like
Illmatic gets a lot of praise too because he was so fucking young. Right. He was so young, and like that's the unbelievable part to it. That's the wow to it. All the big albums have a wow. So like, 50 got shot 9 times. That's his story. Got shot 9 times. He got dropped by Columbia, and now he's up because he's with Eminem and Dre. There's a wow, and this has a wow too. This is a big debut fucking album. Right. It has everything on here.
Yeah, this album delivered. I just think that it was like a lot of people say that, and it's funny, right? Because people say that like because of the Chronic, like the West Coast was just killing because like they was coming out so hard. But in '94, like a lot of like there wasn't like Tupac wasn't screaming out West Coast at this time yet. But like they were saying like, damn, like the East Coast is dying. But it wasn't because of the West Coast yet. It was because at that time, like Run DMC, like all of the leaders of hip hop were dying out, and new rappers were emerging, and like we just weren't sure like where everything was going. And Nas and Biggie like kind of like came up, and like it was so quick, like because before that it was always like, Rakim, KRS-One, Big Daddy Kane, Slick Rick, like those guys like holding like up the flag, like the mantle for like who's the best, right? And then like they don't put out projects anymore. Like they become like they become less heralded. And then we get this kid Nas, child prodigy. Then we get Christopher Wallace, Notorious B.I.G. puts out a fucking motion picture. Like it's fucking crazy. Like I'm just I hope to God nobody ever makes me choose between those two albums. I'll never make that a topic because I don't ever want to have to choose between the both of them. But like, I can make an argument for both of them. And
Illmatic and Ready to Die.
Yeah, but I definitely think that like Biggie definitely deserved the title of King of New York.
Oh yeah, for sure. I think he did too. Yeah. Was there ever a time frame that Nas was a king of New York?
That's what I guess from April of '94 until August 31st. Until August 31st of '94, yeah. And then Biggie came. Then Biggie dropped in September, and that was all she wrote, man. Damn. Like I just think that like Nas had it, and his reign on top was short, like Leprechauns. Like it just happened like that, and I just I think that like people didn't look at Nas and think New York, like they thought of Nas as like a great rapper, but like the face of New York, Biggie.
Yeah, and to be the face of New York, that coincides with King of New York.
Yep. I just don't think that like people gave him that. But you agree? Classic 5.
Classic, yes. This is an absolute classic. 5 out of 5. You got big singles on here. You got the album is just so big that even the quote unquote B-sides, people know them by heart. The storytelling, incredible. The production, incredible. This album delivers on all fronts. And then you have one feature on here, which is Method Man, and it delivers.
Show stealer.
Yeah. So 5 out of 5, man. I don't know if there's anybody that's watching this that hasn't even heard this album yet. I would say, what the fuck are you doing?
Yeah.
You need to listen to it. I think it's an essential hip hop masterpiece.
I agree.
I'm First Class Regg.
I'm Taurian B.
We out of here, y'all.
Catch you guys next time.
Give me your fucking money!
Dun dun